This is Mr. Brewer, and I will be teaching the intermediate RLA reading course, the Reading GED Test Prep course. I'm recording a walkthrough for the first lesson. This is the first class. This is the recording for the first class. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. So classes during this fifth session are going to be from 6 to 8 on Tuesdays in my Zoom room. And on Thursdays, I'm going to have a 5 to 6 office hour and a second 6 to 8 class. The goal for distance learning for this class is about an hour per day, with your goal of being somewhere between the 144 to 155 range from this class on any kind of ready test that you take. We have our ready guy over here, and just kind of a quick reminder of what your score on the ready test means. A lot of people end up in that too close to call when they take their first couple ready tests. If it's been a while since you've taken any kind of GED testing, that too close to call range is where a lot of people end up for a while, and it's just a matter of getting some ideas and structure and prep between you and the test to get up into that 154 to 200 range. That means you're going to really just crush it. Quick reminder to anyone in the call that this lesson is recorded. All my lessons are recorded for future viewing for anybody who wants to go back. Real quick ground rules for the meeting. Please mute yourself once the meeting begins. You can enable your live video, be present and active, ask questions in the comments with the chat area. A quick hello and with your name, and I'll get you added to the attendance sheet. And a reminder again, this class may be recorded for absent students. So if you're not sure how to find the mute button, I can help you out, or I can mute you if you need a hand with that. Real quick introductions. I'm Mr. Brewer. I've taught for a decade now in Jefferson County over in Louisville. I've taught senior English courses for all but one of those 10 years. I'm back at it this year. And I have a lot of experience teaching reading and writing and grammar, and that is the bulk of my day job. My contact information is here. My email is on the left. It's john.brewer@jefferson.kyschools.us. And you can also use my Google numbers to contact me at 856-502-4034. And I'll respond to those texts during the school day between 7:30 and 2:20 if I can, Monday and Friday as soon as possible. I generally don't respond to my Google number on the weekends unless I get some free time. Most of the time I am hanging out with these guys. This is Gabriel on the left, Ralph in the middle, and Michael on the right. That's my three boys. And they take up the majority of my weekend to hang out with them. And that's why I don't usually work on the weekends. All right, real quick, a quick intro to the reading test. So if you haven't taken the reading test recently, here's a quick refresher. So it's a test that's made up of multiple passages. Each passage has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And before you read each passage, you'll see a purpose question. That purpose question is a primer. It's designed to focus your attention to a specific purpose that you'll be thinking about while you're reading. I wish the ACT would do that for my juniors. I think the GED is a better assessment in this case because it sort of gets you thinking about the kind of work you'll be doing with that passage. There's going to be 4 to 8 questions per passage, and the fictional passages are going to come from one of the following areas. There will be poetry, there might be drama, there might be prose fiction between the 1920s to the 1960s. So there's a pretty wide range of where the prose could pull from. They'll have a couple nonfiction passages as well from any of the following areas. It might be nonfiction prose, it might be a review of visual performing arts, or they usually have at least one workplace or community document. That's kind of like the thing that you would see posted in the lunch area at a job site. That kind of thing will be on there too. So you're going to be evaluated in these 4 ways while you're answering those questions. You're going to be evaluated in comprehension, which is your ability to identify the meaning and purpose of the passage. You're going to be evaluated in application, which is your ability to take ideas out of the passage and then use them somewhere else. So understanding what's going on and then taking that information and then applying it somewhere else. Analysis, your ability to break down specific parts of the passage and draw conclusions and make inferences and understand more about the situation than is just on the page. And then synthesis, which is your ability to use information from different parts of the passage to make points on tone, point of view, or purpose. Synthesis is going to have fewer questions than the others, and it's really going to be a bigger part of the written part of the GED than the reading part of the GED. But this is a reading class, so we won't get too much into the synthesis. We'll mostly talk about comprehension, application, and analysis in this course. The class structure for tonight, first I want to talk about the different ways that you're going to be able to do distance learning for this course. Distance learning is the language we use for homework. We're going to talk about AZTEC, Newsela or Newsela, and a tool to find GED level texts to read. I'm also going to share with you a distance learning timesheet link that you can use at the end of each class or the beginning of each class or on your own time to let me know which one of these choices you're using to prep for the reading test. And that's valuable for me because it means that I can give you feedback and help you use those tools to their maximum efficacy. And it's also interesting to me from like a teacher nerd standpoint to know what people are doing. We just went through a reading test explanation, and then at the very end, I'm going to give you a walkthrough of our syllabus and our schedule. So first off, I want to talk to you about logging into AZTEC. So for your first time AZTEC login, I'm going to drop a link in the chat, or you can go to this link on the screen. The first time you log in, you're going to log in using your first name, last name, and your password is going to be AZTEC123. And if this goes by too fast, you can always pause after I give directions and work through that on your own. The next thing you want to do is select the class that you want to focus on. So the GED flash options are practice problems when you're ready to take the test. You'll most likely want to work in the AZTEC GED Prep Solution or the pre-HSE series. It says Bridge in the picture. So you're looking for this one here with the Bridge. You want to click on Learning Plan on the page after that. And then you're going to want to click on the subject that you want to focus on and the lesson that you want. You can focus on whatever lessons you think are the most helpful for you, but I don't suggest doing this on its own. After you take the GED Ready test, you can plug this into your GED Ready test. If you come into class during a live class session, after we do the planned lesson from 6 to 7 p.m., I'm going to have a workspace every day. It's a live workspace, every class. It's a live workspace from 7 to 8 p.m. And if you come in during that time, I can walk you through connecting your GED Ready test results to the AZTEC system. And it will tell you exactly what you should study the most based on what you struggle with the most on your Ready test. And I think that's the best way to do this. It's the most targeted. How to do that specifically, if you want to do it on your own without coming in, you log into your GED account. If you forget your login information, you can contact the folks at GED to recover it using this number here. Once you're logged in, go to My Scores at the top of the page. It'll be the third option to the right. Next, scroll past your GED scores to reach the most recent GED Ready practice test scores. It's the second option from the top. And then click on Score Report on the specific test you want. After you get the score report, you'll see the phrase, "How can I score higher?" And you want to click the drop box under Step 1. Click on AZTEC Software, which is the first option under Choose Your Own Study Material. Sorry about that. I had to go tell my 6-year-old to stop yelling. Anyhow, so you're going to choose AZTEC Software. It's the first option under Choose Your Own Study Material. And then you're going to scroll down to Step 2 to see the learning plan and what to do specifically. So this will only work for GED prep classes, and you'll need to navigate to those in AZTEC. To get to the GED prep classes in AZTEC, choose Active Classes, click on their GED prep on the right, click on Learning Plan, and click on Lessons to Work on. That's a lot of steps. If you come into a live class during our workspace, and I also have workspace, if you remember, from 5 to 6 on Thursdays before class. So if you come in during any of that time, I can walk you through those steps in person. So for this class, you're going to want to focus on the reading content in AZTEC if you choose to use this tool. It's the most classic online GED prep tool available through the course. I really recommend it for folks who want their prep to feel most closely aligned with the GED test itself. It's made by the same people who make the test. This is the equivalent of taking an ACT test prep course before taking the ACT, or an SAT prep course. The AZTEC's a really powerful tool, and again, it's using the same language as the folks who write the test itself. It's really probably your best bet for powerful study. It's also a fairly complicated LMS interface, so learning management system interface. So if you're uncomfortable with how complicated it is, or if you're looking for something that's a little bit lighter, well, stay tuned. I have a couple more options for you. So the next option is called newsela.com or newsela.com. Well, you're going to go there and you're going to sign up as a student, and that will give you access to it through my class. When you get there, I'll give you an example of what it looks like. It'll show you different articles. These articles, sometimes they're in test sets, like they're doing a really good one on the conflict in Ukraine right now. So when you click into an article, it will give you a really, really useful collection of tools that are great prep for the GED reading test. If you click on activities, there's a quiz, and those quiz questions, oh no, there's the answer. There's the quiz questions that are aligned to this reading here. These are really strong questions that are written using the same kind of comprehension language that the GED uses. There's a short written section too, which is not bad to practice because you will be taking the written portion of the GED if you haven't already passed it. But this quiz here is a really useful tool. Now the other reason I really like this is if you go up here where it says 2040L, that's the Lexile level. That is the Lexile level for this text. You want to be reading between 1060 and 1260 for the GED. So this is a range of difficulty of reading that you can read in to answer these quiz questions. So if 1240 is a little bit complicated or a little bit annoying to get through, you can drop it down to 1070 and still be prepping for the GED. I'm a big fan of reading to prep for reading tests, and you can probably find an interesting topic that can pick your interest in here. So you could be doing Newsela and be doing those free reads for this work as well. All right, using Newsela as a student, I'm not going to give you specific assignments in Newsela or in AZTEC, but what I will do is if you log in, I'll help you find something that is useful and valuable for you. So you're going to choose your own article to work on and read. Yeah, each article has a quiz and a writing prompt. I can see your responses if the article is assigned to you and if you complete them on independent reading articles. So I can see your responses on independent reading articles, so I can give you feedback during our workspace from 7 to 8 p.m. I just showed you. You click on the Activities tab to see the quiz and the writing prompt. Click on Write to do the writing, Quiz to do the quiz. Yeah, and your goal here is to explore independently on Newsela and find articles that you're interested in. I think that's more useful than me giving you an article that I'm interested in and having you respond to it and read it. I could pick something about space or science that I'm way into because I'm a big nerd, but it's not going to keep your interest. So finding an article on Newsela and doing a couple articles on Newsela and getting to that hour of practice to prep for this test, that's a good use of your time. So if you're not using AZTEC and you're using Newsela, I think it's valuable. Also, another reason I think you might do Newsela instead of AZTEC is you can do Newsela like on the bus, you can do Newsela on a break, because you can install the mobile app on your phone. So the mobile app will allow you to use this tool kind of anywhere, whereas AZTEC is more of a computer-friendly tool. So if you're on the move a lot and you're not in front of a computer all the time, I think Newsela is a better choice. If you have some time to sit down in front of a computer to do GED prep, or if you're like me and you have a bunch of kids and you enjoy the excuse of sitting down at a computer to do some work, to take a break from children, AZTEC's the way to go. All right, the last option for distance learning is reading a GED level text. So what does that mean? A Lexile measured a Lexile measure levels a text by its difficulty. So books or passages in the 1060 to 1260 range let you know the level of text you're reading is the right level of difficulty for GED prep. So if you're reading in that 1060 to 1260 difficulty range or complexity range, you're really doing good preparation for the GED. While you're reading in that range. Now this is probably the loosest way to prep for the GED, but also maybe one of the easiest and most enjoyable. So if you find a book in that range and you're reading it, what you need to be thinking about is what's happening in the text and can you write questions based on what you're reading. So if you're reading a text at between that 1060 and 1260 level, writing questions about it is a really strong way to prepare for the GED. So if you were to read a book that you find in that range and write some questions about it, that would be a very useful way to spend your time. And it's good to just read a little bit every day, anyways, just to keep that vocabulary, keep your vocabulary growing. All right. So finding books by Lexile Range, I have a tool for you, and I'm going to share this out with you through the chat as well as through email if you share your email with me. But if you go to this tool, you can search by Lexile Range. So this is a really great find a book tool. Not all these books are going to be aimed at adults, but these books are all sorted by Lexile in a really clear way. So I'm going to type in 1060 at the bottom of our range and 1260 at the top of our range. And I'm going to hit search. So these are all books in the 1060 to 1260 range. It's going to give me 25 at a time. So not all these books look super adult. You can also find Lexile Range books You can also find books by looking in the interest categories here. So if you're looking for like science fiction and fantasy, you can search by category in here. And again, your goal is to be in that 1060 to 1260 range. All right, the last thing I need to let you know about for this class today is the second to last thing, because we're going to talk about the syllabus too. The second to last thing is the distance learning tracker link. So you're going to use this link to confirm your completion of the distance learning hours. This is going to allow me to give you these multiple options and opportunities for distance learning, rather than asking everyone to use the same tool or method that might not work best for them or for their time. I recognize that you're busy. I recognize that you have families, that you have jobs. I know that it's late, and I want to value your time, especially when you're not in class. So you can use this link to let me know which one of these three options you're doing. So if you take a picture of this screen that you're looking at right now with your smartphone, or if you screen capture this link with your smartphone, it should recognize this link. And it will take you through to the distance learning timesheet. So you're going to complete this timesheet either during class or during the week to let me know how many hours you've done in each of these acceptable distance learning activities. So have you been working in an AZTEC reading module? Did you do work in Newsela? Are you working in a GED prep test booklet on your own that's separate from this course? Or are you reading a book between Lexile 1060 and 1260? And then you'll tell me what day you completed that distance learning and how many hours of distance learning did you complete that day. This is just a really quick way to check in and let me know what you're working on. I am interested in a descriptive discussion in class of which one of these you're doing, more than in being a distance learning Nazi. I would like you to choose your specific path here and the tool that is going to be the most value for you. Just real quick reminder that AZTEC reading module, that's the most classic GED prep tool. It's also the one that's best on the computer. Working in Newsela is something that you can do anywhere on a phone. Working in a GED test prep booklet I didn't mention it, but it's very classic, and you can do that even without any technology whatsoever. And after you've identified it, reading a book between Lexile 1060 and 1260 and writing some questions for someone else based on that book and the contents of that book is a really good, strong way to prep for this reading test also. So any or all, if you do all, you could write the GED. Any of these in any combination would be a really, really strong way for you to do prep outside of this class. All right. In class, I'd do a 5-minute break at this point because it's been about 20 minutes of me talking. Next up, after the short break, and I'll try to do that on any given night. I'll do about 20 minutes of talk, followed by a 5-minute break, followed by another 20 minutes of presentation and maybe some questions, and then followed by about 10 minutes of short, small group work. And then the second hour of our class is open workspace for you to either be doing work in AZTEC, or you could be doing more question sets from the topic from that night, but you'll have me as kind of the expert in the room to talk to about any questions you have or what you're looking at. Okay, so the actual last thing for tonight is this living syllabus and class schedule. The syllabus itself has my contact information. It has links to all of these slide decks. It has the recorded lessons like the one you're watching for anyone who's absent, or if you'd like to see a walkthrough or a discussion topic again. It has links to the distance learning options, and it has the structure for the class and what to expect for each lesson. So let's jump in there real quick. I do one of these for my students in JCPS too, and it's just really useful. This is the one link you need for this class is this link, because the syllabus has everything on it. So you can see right up top the dates that our session runs, my contact information, as well as a link to this Zoom class. So you don't have to find an email every class. If you just go up to your star over here and add this as a bookmark, this is a great bookmark to have. Just bookmark this syllabus here and go to it on nights that you have class. It tells you my class meeting times as well as my additional help space from 5 to 6 on Thursdays. So what is this thing? This thing contains links to the recorded versions if you miss live class, as well as the slide decks. So here you have your class date, a slide deck link, which will take you right to the deck that I was going through, a YouTube recorded lesson link, which I'll post after class, and then links to the 3 different pathways that you can choose for your distance learning. And again, I don't really have a dog in this fight, or this race, I suppose, for which one of these distance learning options that you choose. I think that, again, AZTEC's probably the best if you have a computer in front of you. Newsela is best if you're working on a phone. And if you don't have access to really a lot of data, or you just want to check out a book from the library and use that book to prep, this Lexile identifier, choosing something between, again, 1060 and 1260 range, that's going to be a solid use of your time as well. And you might read a book that you like. So the structure for this class, and I want to close this out before we hit 30 minutes. The structure for this class, our first class, we're doing this technology check-in. I gave you that reading test explanation, and I walked through the living syllabus and schedule, as well as the distance learning options. For the second class, we're going to talk about some skills focus. So all these yellow highlighted areas are skills that the RLA test is going to cover. We're going to talk specifically about the comprehension and application skills that you're going to see on the test on Thursday the 3rd. Now, there's going to be a lot of terminology on Thursday that we kind of rush through and give examples of. You can return to that example whenever you need to. We're going to hit some of that terminology later on, but we're going to talk about the comprehension and application skills that you're going to see on the test. On the 8th, we're going to talk specifically about analysis and synthesis skills and apply them to a couple different selections and talk about how to do those different things on the test. On the 10th, we're going to talk about authorial intent, what the author is trying to get across, and main idea of selections. And on the 15th, we're going to have our last skills day. We're going to talk about supporting details, implicit language, and explicit language, with these two both being kind of together. So by the 15th of March, we'll have covered the skills necessary to be successful on the reading test for the GED. After that, for the rest of the session, we're going to focus on the types of readings that you're going to run into. We're going to look at specific poetry question examples, where we'll look at a poem and we'll look at a question set that's just like the GED will potentially show you about a poem. We'll look at a drama, like a short drama excerpt, and have some questions over that. So we're going to look at examples of readings just like you're going to see on the GED. On the 22nd, we're going to do a whirlwind run through examples of prose fiction from the 20s, the 60s, and after the 60s. On the 29th, we're going to look at nonfiction texts and reviews of visual and performing arts. And on the 31st, we're going to look at those workplace and community document texts with some question examples and different types of questions that you may see about those texts. So the first half of this session is going to be dedicated to skills that you'll need to succeed on this test. And the second half of this session is going to be dedicated to the different kinds of readings that you might see on the test and looking at applying those skills to those readings. We will have spring break at that point. For the 10th class, actually, during spring break, you should be reviewing topics of most concern, or if you can, take a ready test, if possible. You can reach out to Carrie Copeland or Anita Mounts to get your keys for a free ready test, I believe. So reach out to them for those. On the 12th, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about taking the RLA and preparing for the ready test or the GED itself. And then on the 14th, we're going to have a student-determined question and ready test-driven review. So for the people who do take a ready test over spring break, we're going to come back, talk about their outcomes on the 14th, and talk about their new goals for studying based on their ready tests. So if you did not pass your ready test over spring break, we will then use that information to produce like a playlist for you of the things that you want to focus on the most on your own time after session 5. All right. That's the structure of the class. I know that was a lot, but that is kind of what we'll be doing. Your distance learning for tonight, or it's late tonight, but your distance learning between now and the next time I talk to you on Thursday is to log into AZTEC or Newsela or confirm a chosen text as an appropriate Lexile level using that Lexile tool. So pick a book, check its Lexile level. I think that the Lord of the Rings and that kind of book are right up there. Oh no, Lord of the Rings is at -60, so you want to read a little bit higher than Lord of the Rings. See, I'm reading Lord of the Rings with my 6-year-old, and I'm just saying it's high up there because I think he's awesome. All right, we're going to go into workspace for the class tonight. During the workspace after the lesson, you could log into Newsela or the AZTEC system, and we could troubleshoot your access to those tools in class too. I'd like you to check in with me during our workspace. Let me know what you're doing, how it's helping you prep for the test, whether you feel like it is or it isn't, and we can increase the difficulty or shift the tool if you feel like it's not being helpful, and we can get feedback and direction on using your time the best you can for you. Thanks so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in class.